Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, Psychic Medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello, Spunksters. How are you? As you can tell, my voice is kind of not good today. Not good. But I wanted to do a podcast anyway, so I sound kind of sultry. I might cough once in a while, but the reason why I chose to still do one this week is because a lot has happened in my life this week, and I just kind of wondered, sometimes when people go through things in their lives, do they think that it's different for a medium to go through the same kind of things everyday life? I'm an everyday life person. I don't consider myself being any different from anybody else. So I just kind of wanted to tell a little bit of how I got into mediumship, or because last week we talked about going for it and stepping into it. And so I just kind of wanted to give a little bit, because I think maybe my story might help others out there. And I enjoy reading other mediumship stories, other stories or books written by mediums. So this will kind of give you a little pros and cons about running a spiritual business and how, to conquer fear, all the things that's, courage to be yourself. That's like the main thing. And so obviously my gift started when I was little, and I thought they were normal. And I don't want to repeat a lot of the stories that I've told before or the experiences that I've had, because they've been on other podcasts. And so I don't want to bore you with the details. But I kind of knew, when I was younger that I had experiences that were different from other people's. And I just knew things. I knew when certain commercials would come on the radio, there was different kind of spirits that lived in our base, that I would see outside my door when I was little, and I would have experiences with past loved ones, and a lot of some of my family members were good with this, and some of them weren't. Like my dad, we would play with a Ouija board when I was younger, but then when I had some experiences when I was older with some bad experiences, but I just think that my journey, kind of just led me to where I am. There was a time in obviously your journey leads you to where you are, right? But it could have gone so differently. It could have gone where I did close off who I truly was, and I didn't step out and practice my gift, and I did just play the norm, and I didn't take that chance. And it kind of makes me sad to think that could have happened, and it easily could have happened, because I was very codependent. When you have an alcoholic father, alcoholism in your family, or narcissism in your family, then, and I'm not saying my dad was, but I did deal with narcissism. You become codependent, which you become a people pleaser, and you want everyone to like you. And so when you do things that people think aren't kosher, or you aren't normal, then you tend to hide that. And I did. I grew up hiding it in alcohol. I grew up drinking a lot in high school, every single weekend. And, I had not a healthy relationship in high school. The guy's super great. The guy's awesome. We were just way too young to deal with some of the emotions that we had. He is, a sweetheart, and I don't want to put anything out there against him, but we just were both he also dealt with some narcissist stuff in his family, and I was dealing with mine, and all we had was each other, and it just became, it was cool. It was a first love, but it was also very unhealthy. We didn't know how to love at that young. And I would get so mad when people would be like, you can't feel love at this young. You can. You totally can. I will always have, he'll always be my first love. But we just were too young to deal with some of the big problems that we had with both families. So, and neither one of our families were, back in the day, it wasn't like big mental health issues, or you didn't get help for mental health issues. They were kind of, ADHD was kind of like taboo and all those kind of things. So we just kind of like held on to each other to get through it. And we, he had some pretty big spiritual experiences, and so did I, at the time. But most of the time, I drank. And it was because I was trying to figure out our relationship most of the time. And because I wanted to block these spirits, or I wanted to block these things that I was feeling. And so then I joined the LDS faith. I'm just going to say straight out. Because I thought that I didn't want a life like that anymore. And I thought that that would change it. And also, too, I thought that what I with the narcissism and the drinking and all that stuff. And I thought that joining the LDS church would change that. And I wanted I thought that my gift was evil, and I wanted it to go away. And so I thought that if I joined the church, it would. And honestly, I'm just telling you right now, you cannot run away from healing. You can't. You can't run away from healing, because that's what I did. I joined a church to run away, and I thought that it was gonna solve all my problems, and I just became, honestly, I married someone that was also narcissistic, and I had 4 awesome, beautiful kids out of that marriage. But I also jumped the bandwagon and was totally like, I'm 100% or nothing, and I jumped into the religion. And honestly, the guy probably didn't really love that, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him, but we could have handled things a way bit differently. But there were times in that time that I did have very spiritual experiences, and it's because when you have faith, that's something. If you do actions in faith, you'll get rewarded for that. Doesn't matter if you're Mormon, Catholic, Jehovah's Witness, any of those. If you do something with the intention of getting blessings, or if you serve the universe or serve the Lord in a way that you have faith that you're going to get something in return, or you have that intention, it's not a selfish thing. It's just what you're taught. You will get it. You will. And so there are times that I did have some spiritual experiences, and that's really, really cool. But at the same time, it also made me realize that I was just running away from my problems inside of a different society, and some of the things, and I couldn't get rid of my gift. No matter what I tried, or no matter what I did, I couldn't. If I denied it, I would. You just can't deny your gifts, right? And so I ended up really having some migraines about when my 4th baby was born, because I kept trying to block it. I kept trying to block all of the things, like all the spirits, or all of the, like my dad would come through occasionally, but just all the downloads and all the spiritual growth. I mean, I did have some spiritual growth, but just blocking the spirits, and trying to shut that all down and cutting off my clairvoyance gave me severe migraines, and I started to get pretty sick, and I just wasn't being me. I wasn't being true to me, and I had 4 little babies, and it was kind of tough, and so I didn't have time. And also too, it was so cool for a little bit, and I'm not putting anybody down by any means, but I just thought if there were any kind of troubles or any kind of trials, that I would just ask Heavenly Father or ask God, and then leave it up to Him, which is still true. Still true. You could ask the universe, you can manifest. Some people call it manifesting, some people call it praying, some people call it, quantum physics. That's just, there's a lot of different names for it, but and I do believe that there is a higher being and a source and a God. Excuse me. But I also believe we have a ton of power and gifts within ourselves to be take care of our trials and to give that mental strength to us, to give that spiritual strength to us. And so then I went through a divorce. My husband at that time didn't, I think I think he was also having a faith crisis of some sort. And I maybe was a little, I don't think I mean, maybe I was a little bit extreme, like, 100% in, but it just, that part of your life is hard when you are a mom and you have little tiny babies. It's not an easy time in your life anyways. And um, so I kind of hit rock bottom. I could not tap into I can't say I couldn't tap into my stuff, because it is harder to hear your own stuff. It is harder to hear your own intuition when you're going through things like that, because you're so in grief and you're so stressed out. And so it's hard to hear your intuition. But at the same time, there were times that during that time that I listened to my intuition and I found like amazing things. Like, I've heard the story about the tape recorder where I woke up and something whispered to me, go get a tape recorder. And I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, went to get a tape recorder, put it under my bed, and caught my ex doing other things with other people, other women. So anyways, that's like a whole nother story, and I don't even know where I'm going off on this. But so I could tap into my intuition a little bit. But when I hit rock bottom, man, when I went through that divorce and I was trying to raise 4 kids as a single mom, that's when all of my, it's just like all of my spiritual growth, or all of my gifts just came back full force, like they did when I was a baby, and I had cut them off in high school, and they just came back full force. So that's when they did. And then luckily I met an awesome man who, one of the first stories he told me was that he'd seen Bigfoot up on the Rexburg bench. And so I was like, oh my gosh, if anybody's going to understand my gifts, it's going to be him. And he's always been behind me and supporting me and loving me and helping me. I mean, it did get a little crazy sometimes when we were like, okay, should I leave my full-time job and do this full-time? I mean, that was kind of a scary moment. And I'm always the jumper and the doer, and he's always the one who's safe. And so it was those steps were kind of hard. But honestly, taking that, any journey, right? Any journey, not just a journey to being a psychic medium. Any journey in life is going to be hard. I look at my kids now, and they're in the stage of raising little babies, and it's hard. It's really hard. And sometimes when you're in that stage, you don't have the time or the energy to tap into your gifts or do a spiritual awakening, because spiritual awakenings are hard. They take a lot of shadow work. And so, there's always a right time. And I think sometimes I feel like that's why there's not a lot of younger mediums out there that practice, because it is, especially if they have kids, because it is such a draining thing. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about too, some of the pros and cons of mediumship. Now, when I did go to Idaho Falls High School, I knew a lot of stuff before it happened. I knew when people were pregnant, before they were pregnant, before anybody knew. I could feel spirits around. I just knew things sometimes. And that's why I drank a lot too. It's because I wanted to stop all that. I wanted to stop all that feeling. And when you're LDS, you can't drink, right? And so I was on lots of, honestly, I was on medication, I think Effexor, all through some of the time I was raising my kids, because I didn't want to have to deal with that. And then when my spiritual gifts and trying to raise the kids, and I tried to reach that spiritual frequency through religion instead of just through my own spiritual experiences. I was living my spiritual experience through somebody else and not through my own. And so then when my kids started getting older and I wasn't as stressed out and I could have time, then I started to do readings for people, started doing card readings or oracle card readings. And then it just got, and spirits would step in all the time, and I'd be like, oh, and do you have this father figure? And it would be yes. And I started doing it for $40, and then word of mouth happened, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now, what I manifested has come true. I wanted to do it full time. I wanted to have a busy schedule, and I wanted to help people and help people heal, and I wanted to like kind of build a tribe of people that were like build a togetherness, a community of us trying to help each other. And but the thing is, you guys, now that I'm there, I kind of don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to navigate it. And so please be patient as I'm trying to do that, because you get what you manifest or you get what you dream, but then when you get there, sometimes you're like, oh crap, what did I create? Do you know what I mean? Not, oh crap, what did I create? But how do I manage it so I can still be my quality? I can still do quality readings and be myself and help other people. So honestly, some of the pros and cons of being a medium and having your own business are, the ability to help people. I love helping give people closure to past loved ones. I love giving people guidance. I love that our ancestors come through and guide us. Now, they can never make decisions for us, but they can always guide and direct us. I love doing that, and that's such a great blessing to me and to my clients. I don't heal anybody, but I give them some of the tools to find the closure and to find the healing. And a lot of times readings will start people's awakenings, and they'll start to question what culture's taught or history is taught or schools taught or religions have taught, and it helps them find their own spiritual sense or their own courage to be themselves. And that's what I really love. That's what I love the most about being a medium, is these readings can spark that. I love that I get to meet people. I am an introvert, and I do get nervous, and sometimes I don't know what to say, and with my ADHD I get distracted. But I love the people that I meet. I love my tribe. I love my spunksters. I love making friends with them. Like, a lot of times I'll have clients that will become some of my best friends, which also makes it hard because it's hard to give readings. So it'd be hard once you become friends with your clients and you know all about them. Then it's a little harder to give readings, because then you have to give readings without it being tainted of what you already know about them. So I love the retreats. I love the camaraderie. I love just helping people. I honestly really do. And it breaks my heart sometimes that it's just like, it's so crazy because it's a double-edged sword. Like, I am so grateful that my schedule is booked and I am going to help all these people. But at the same time, it breaks my heart that I don't have, these things make me emotional. It breaks my heart that I don't have enough energy to fit in more people. Because these readings can make me very, very tired and take a lot of my energy. And so it does make me feel bad. And sometimes I have to cut back just because of my own, like, if I had the energy, if Spirit tells me to do something all the time, I always say, fine, I'll do it, but you got to give me the energy, because these readings can be exhausting, and doing them every day is kind of exhausting every day. And I know that my limit is 3. If I do more than 3 a day, I will literally get sick, or the readings won't be good quality, not good enough for my quality anyways, my expectations, and so I have to really watch myself. And it's really hard because I want to add on events right now. I want to add on things like group readings and spirit circles, but I can't do them the days that I do readings. And I do readings almost every day but Monday. And so it's really, really hard to figure out and how to navigate these. And the thing that's so crazy is I can't just like schedule the week ahead and be like, okay, this day I'm going to do a circle, or even a month ahead, because I'm booked out. And so it's hard to navigate that. I'm going to figure it out because I'm going to, and I need to. But that's one of the pros and cons about it, is I want to be there for everybody, but I only have so much energy that I want to be able to do something that hits more people than just one-on-one. So that's where the group readings kind of come in. So it used to be that, when I first started, I had more flexibility. I kind of don't now. I don't really have, because I'm at that point now, like I said, where my business kind of owns me, because I'm so booked out and I have 3 readings every day. I have to make sure. So like, a lot of people think that I'm like this little privileged medium that only has to work 3 hours a day, right? That I just go to work every day at 3 o'clock and do 3 readings. But that's not the case. So when people call and say, can you go to lunch, or can we do this, or do you have time? I feel really stupid saying no, I have to work today, because they all know, my friends know and family know that I don't go to work till 3. I don't do readings till 3. But for me to be prepared for those readings, I have to do a daily routine to be ready, because if I don't and things go out of whack and I'm out of alignment, my readings can suck that day, and I just don't love that. So part of my work is waking up and journaling and meditating and physically moving my body, having some sort of exercise that I have to do, and reading some sort of book about spiritual stuff, because it puts me in, it puts me in that confidence mode. It puts me in so meditation takes me about a half hour. I also do the workout. I work out, and that takes me about an hour. I like to go walk out in the sun or be in nature if it's at all possible. And so the thing that's crazy is I have to do these things. And on Thursdays, on Fridays, I have to do all of that and still do a podcast. And then on Mondays, I have to record Carrie Connects. So, it's so crazy, because just because I do readings every day, people think I have all this extra time. I don't. Because for me to be prepared to do those readings takes a lot of effort and a lot of I can't eat really heavy foods before readings. I can't be sick at all, which is crazy because my voice sounds like I'm sick, but I don't feel sick. And so that's kind of an expectation is I do work all day, and I do work 9 to 5, because I do have to do those things before I start my readings at 3 o'clock. And then a lot of times I'm going home at night and I'm making social media stuff, or I'm trying to figure out what events to do. So it seems like it's just 3 hours a day, but it's not. It's kind of an entrepreneurial thing. And I'm trying to figure out how to do the whole work smarter, not harder. But, right now, that's one of the things that I got to navigate, right? Now, another thing that's kind of a con of media, it's a pro and a con, but the pros are, like I said, like the people that I meet and the people that I help and the people that we help go on this journey together. And because of my story, it helps other people. Some of the cons of this, though, is some of the people you meet are very mean and very skeptic, and you feel they do tell you that you're evil or a witch and all that stuff that they don't understand. And at first, it did really get to me. At first, that's why I didn't come out of the closet for so long. And now I just don't care. I just don't care, because they just don't know, right? They just don't know. And I'll admit, maybe back in the day, even some of my own family members, when I was having these experiences when I was little, even thought it was weird. So, but there is no normal. There is no normal. We define as a culture normal. You guys, there is no normal. And this is what works for me. This is my life. This is what I love doing. This is what I've been sent here to do. There's no doubt about that. And my guides are leading me in the right direction. And there is going to be opposition, right? There always is going to be opposition, especially when you're doing great things. If you finally get the courage to go out there and do something, you are going to be met with opposition, because if you're going to create good in the world, there's going to be some people that don't want you to. There's going to be some energies that don't want you to. So be prepared for that, and just know that it doesn't matter. I got to tell you this story. And I'm not putting anybody down, because there's good in everything, right? There's good and bad in everything. So, but when I was in the LDS church, I was in a kind of a high position, and not a high position. It's not like somebody's better than others. It's just a calling that you do, and it's a thing that you do for your church, and it's like you donate your time and expertise to the church. And there's something called a presidency, where especially like a presidency that's over the women, that help the women. And I was the first. I think I was the second counselor, and the president was amazing. She was so amazing. I even want to cry just talking about her. She was amazing. And she did everything for those women. She would 9 to 5, not even 9 to 5, 9 to midnight every day. She'd call people. She'd visit these women. She'd pray for them constantly. And it still didn't matter. There were still people in that congregation, or some women that would just talk about her, and she was beautiful, and she was amazing, and she worked so hard, and still weekly there were people that would go to the bishop and complain about her, and so that we weren't doing something right, or we and I remember when she got released, one of the women were sitting out, and it was an older group of women, and I'm old, so I don't want to say anything, but um, one of the older ladies said, well, they finally get somebody. So my Relief Society president was released. We were released, and then they called somebody else, and she was an older lady, and in the hallway in front of the thing, the day that my friend got released, and she wasn't my friend until we served together, so that was awesome too. She's a very amazing person, and they said finally they get somebody in there our age, and I just thought to myself, that's kind of when things started breaking for me, because she worked so hard for these women, and so that's kind of when I just thought, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you do, good or bad. People are going to talk about you. Always. You can never please 100% of the people all the time. So it didn't matter if I stayed in the church and put my head down and wasn't myself, or if I'm still a member, but I don't go. I'm just not active. Or if I came out of the closet and did do this work and had people talk about me. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter if I stayed or if I go. People are still going to talk about me. And you know what? They probably don't talk about me as much as I think that they do, because nobody has time. Nobody has time. And if they do talk about you, that's their problem, and that's their frequency they have to worry about, right? Like, I stumbled onto this Reddit page one time, and all it was like bad mouthing an influencer, and I just thought, how do people have time for this? How do people have time to just sit here and do nothing but bag on other people? It's just such a low frequency. So skeptics, people who don't believe in what I do, honestly, that's their thing. That's their thing, and they don't have to come. And if I do ever get I've had some skeptics in readings, but they've always left pretty good. They've always been open. If I do have somebody here that's just trying to test me, I'll give them their money back. I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with it. And honestly, it just gives a low frequency, and it just doesn't work out. So that's the skeptics is one of the things. Another thing that is kind of hard is, like I said, the energy. I have to constantly be on top of my energy all the time, because the readings take so much energy. And so, but I do love it. I do love the readings. Sometimes it's just like a normal work day. You go into work and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm kind of tired. But then you get into a reading, and it's such an amazing experience, and it's so awesome that you're like, I can totally do this. I have had readings where I go in and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this today, Spirit. And I tell people straight out before the reading, if we get into this in 10 minutes and nothing is resonating, we will try again, or I will give you your money back. And it's rarely, I think maybe one time it's ever happened, because Spirit is in charge. Spirit is in charge, and Spirit runs it, and Spirit gives me the energy to do it. So that's what I love. It does take a lot of energy. Even Tyler Henry, if you guys watch him, he was doing so much traveling and so much touring that one of his kidneys, I think it's either kidneys or his liver, gave out. I think it was his kidneys, during one of his shows, and he couldn't, and after he would do readings, he would sleep for 2 days. He would do a reading and then he would sleep for 2 days. This thing, it can be draining. Now, Teresa Caputo says it's not draining for her. She says it gives her energy, and maybe she manifests that, or maybe that's her gift. I don't know. Maybe she can handle it. But I know most of the psychics, or most of the mediums that I have seen or mentored with, they do get pretty tired and drained after the readings, because you have to raise your frequency to meet the Spirit's frequency, to tap into that Spirit's frequency. And to do that, you have to raise it. And sometimes when you do have a skeptic across from you, you have to raise theirs too. You have to hold their frequency. And so it can get a little bit draining. And so I have to make sure that when I was doing 5 a day, I was about ready to, that I got really sick after that. That's why I had to cut it down. I had to really cut it down. So that's, it does take a lot of energy. So daily things that I do, always protect myself. I always surround myself with white light. I always wear I wear a tourmaline bracelet or a seeing eye bracelet on my right side. I exercise every day. I exercise and I have to be really careful about what I eat on the days that I do readings. I can't eat a whole bunch of meat it can't be heavy. I can't have, you know how sometimes when you eat and you're so full, like at Thanksgiving, I can't do that on days that I do readings. And I have to make sure that I get some sort of like small meditation in for the day or walk or just or journaling because it helps me to dump. I call it a dump, that sounds so bad, but it helps me do a brain dump because when I do readings, I have to be in the now. I have to be in the moment. I can't be worrying about my family. And that's why I have to, my family knows that during readings, they can't call me because I know if they do call me, something's not right. And then I can't focus on the reading anymore. So, I have to be focused. I have to be in the now. That's why it's almost like this unwritten law between me and spirit, or this boundary that we have. And now spirit doesn't bother me anymore because in the past, spirit would come, downloads and stuff would come all the time. And I thought that I just had to be open to it when it came. If spirits came through and visited, I had to be open to it when it came. And now I know I don't have to be. I can build boundaries. And so a lot of people are like, when I go out, and I tell people I'm a psychic medium, they're like, well, can you read me? I really can't now because I used to be able to. I still could if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I turn it off because I need to save that energy for those 3 hours every day. And it took me a while to learn how to turn it off. But it's not that I turned it off. It's me. It's honestly kind of that I have boundaries that spirit upkeeps, and in exchange I do this work for them. I do work for spirit. I honestly work more for spirit than I do my clients because their ancestors and their loved ones are the ones who sent me them. So my clientele is mostly honestly spirit, the spirit realm. And so that is kind of a deal that we made. So now when I'm out and about, I can't just tune into people because honestly it's unethical. I can't just be like at the grocery store tuning into, tapping into the grocery store clerk because it's unethical. Now, before when I was younger and I didn't know it was unethical and I didn't know what it was, I could totally do it. Now I don't because it's unethical and I want some integrity to be part of my work and part of what goes down. So that's kind of the gist of how I got here. It's not like specific details of different things that have happened. I think I have had other podcasts that tell different experiences that helped me. This is just kind of a general thing of, the pros and cons of having a spiritual business or being a medium and having it's such a great thing. And I think the reason why I wanted to talk about that this week is because even though and this is it's so funny because I've already talked for half an hour. This is the main reason I wanted to talk about it. Is because we're mediums, and I'm going to really try and get through this without crying. Just because we're mediums doesn't mean we can't feel grief. It doesn't mean we don't go through grief. As a medium, it is harder for us sometimes to tap into our family and our friends because we're emotionally involved. Our intuition can be tainted because we have emotional involvement with our family and friends. And so when we do have family and friends who pass away, people kind of sometimes have this expectation of us that we should just be okay because we're going to be able to chat with them anytime. And that's not entirely true. I do have some really magical moments with my dad, but I think that a lot of people out there have magical moments with their past loved ones, right? So it's so easy for me to sit down in my reading room and read all about, give a reading about your loved ones if I don't know you, because I don't know any better and nothing taints the reading. I don't know anything. And even in the reading, I try not to figure it out. I try not to figure out who belongs to who because it still can taint it. So, but this week, I had a friend of mine's daughter pass away. And also, too, my grandma has been on hospice for 6 months. And um, when she got on hospice, and my aunt called me and told me, the first thing that happened was, this was November 7th. The first thing that happened was I heard my dad's voice say, on the birthday. And I thought it meant my birthday, because my birthday is December 14th. Because my grandma's been in pretty bad health for the last little while, and she just got a freaking strong body. But and her body's not going to give up. She's a tough little squirt, and um it's been really hard to watch. And so my aunt did call. She didn't pass on my birthday, and I thought that was weird, because I know that my dad did come say the birthday. My aunt called this week, and she is getting worse, and they don't expect her. And I'm pretty sure the whole family knows this, so I'm not saying anything different. And so if there's any family members on here that are hearing this, I think my whole family knows she's been struggling for the last little while, and it's pretty close. But her birthday is tomorrow. And so part of me thinks that my dad was talking about her passing will be her birthday, not mine. And so, but here's the thing. When mediums deal with death, it still hurts. It's still such a grieving thing, and we still hurt for the people. And so it's really hard too, because it's not like it just happens every once in a while in a medium's life, because it's something that we do deal with every day. So every day that I do a reading, it is so great to help people. It is so great to help people to get closure and talk to their loved ones. And it is such an amazing feeling to be part of that. But sometimes it is so hard to not cry during those readings, because I've been trained, you do not cry, you do not cry, you do not take that away from them. And so when you have parents and family fall apart in front of you because they've lost a child, it's so hard not to fall apart. And so you keep it together, and you go home and you cry. So sorry, guys, this is crazy. I don't cry very often either. So this week's been tough with my friend's daughter and my grandma, and just the readings. And please do not 1 minute think that I don't enjoy the readings, because I do. This is what I'm here. This is what I do. And so, but part of my job is trying to figure out how to process these emotions and process it for my clients, and then also process it on my own with my own family. And it's hard to keep them separate. It's not a together thing. So yeah, I feel like I'm just like saying, the thing is, you guys, is I want to be truthful, and I want to be vulnerable with you, because having a spiritual practice, it's not always super easy. Just like spiritual growth, it's not always super easy. But I don't for 1 minute want anybody to think that they're a burden to me, because they're not. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm on this earth for. This is what I need to do. So I need to figure out how to handle these together. But I just remember last week when I was like, you need to go for it. You need to do it. You do. And it is the most rewarding thing in the world. But with everything that's beautiful, everything that's good, there are some downsides to it that you need to work through. And so, and there's lots of different kind of things that people just assume about mediums that aren't entirely true. They can't win the lottery if their integrity is where it's supposed to be, or they don't get lottery numbers. They don't just read you in the store. They don't just deal with death in their own lives super easy, because they can talk to their loved ones anytime. So, and when your friends and family do have past loved ones, it's kind of like you feel like there's this expectation on you to know what's going on there, and sometimes you don't, because it's too close. You're too close to it. So it's a beautiful experience, and mediumship is awesome, and everybody has the gift. Everybody does. Some people just have a harder time tapping into it or knowing how to work it than others. So that's kind of, I don't even know what to call this episode, because it's kind of like this is how I got here, and this is what it's like, and you can do it too. You can do it too. You can go. No, and that's why I feel bad, because it is beautiful. It is such a beautiful job, and it is such a beautiful thing that I do, and I really, really love it. But it's always, just like any job or anything that you do, it's not always super easy, and you're dealing with other people and their pain and their emotions, and so there comes lots and lots of responsibility with that. My favorite is when I was deciding whether or not to become a medium, and I went to Sedona with some friends, and I went to I had a reading done there, and the medium ran her hands like over my body like a Reiki practitioner would, and she stopped in the middle and she said, "You're a medium." And I started crying, and I said, "Yes." And she says, "What's the matter?" And I said, "There's so much responsibility that goes with this." And she said, "I know. And you have to be up for the calling." So just know, when you do mediumship work and you do spiritual work, there is a huge responsibility around it. And people can, there's a responsibility. It's not scary, but you need to have some integrity, and you need to know that. And you just need to know that, because nothing would be more devastating to somebody that came to a reading and have a parent or something come through and say something that could totally change their lives. And mediums have that power, and they have that power for good or for evil. And maybe I'm giving mediums too much power, but sometimes some people are just in that journey and they're really vulnerable. And so that comes with, and that's what I pray for every day. So every day before I do readings, I do a little prayer around my office. I do a protection prayer, and I pray for my client, and I pray for me, and I pray for the spirits that are coming through, and I pray that I hear accurately the message that comes through, and I pray really hard. I surrender to spirit, and I pray really hard that my clients hear what they're supposed to, because I'm an interpreter, right? I am just an interpreter for them and their loved ones, and I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to misinterpret something. So that's my job in a nutshell, guys. It's a beautiful, awesome thing, and it took a lot to get here. It took a lot of faith. It took a lot of courage. It took a lot of physical energy. It took a lot of emotional energy. It took a lot of digging deep and figuring out who the hell I am. It took a lot of energy to not care what other people think. It took, and now I'm right where I want to be. I'm right where I've always wanted to be. Now I just need to tweak it a little bit so it doesn't drain me so much. And I'm getting there. I'm getting good. And so that's why the events are like up in the air, you guys, because I've realized I can't really do events the days I do readings, but I do readings all the time. So we're going to figure it out, me and you together. If you have any, if you spunksters out there, and you have any ideas for me, or if you have excuse me, any kind of ideas or any kind of help or any kind of encouragement, I would be glad to hear it. So that is it for this week. Next week, we're going to talk about Yellowstone and the hauntings of Yellowstone National Park. It's going to be awesome. I like to, as you know, I like to mix it up a little bit. I like to have some self-help ones, and then I like to have some paranormal ones. They both do really well, but the self-help one seems to, people really like that. This one was supposed to be more about self-help, supposed to be kind of like a life in the day of a medium, but honestly, it's just, I don't even know what I'm going to call it, because it's just how I got here, how it is, and how beautiful it is, and how beautiful it is that I have you who listen, that I have you who support me, that I have you who trust me, and I have you guys, my spunksters, my tribe, who help me every day. So your comments, your DMs, all the things, I know all of that stuff that I did wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have had you guys. So I love you so much, and I will see you guys next week.